To our panelists, Ma'am Salve A. Eje, Sir Ronel Tino, Ma'am Mercy Almonte, and to our research advisor, Ma'am Donna Claire Cañesa, good day. We are the Group 6, and we are going to present to you our chapters 4 and 5 entitled Impact of Parental Involvement to the Academic Performance of Grade 2 Pupils in Modular Distance Learning. I'm Nika Septimo, and I'm going to present to you our matrix of compliance. In the title page, the comments and suggestions are as follows. First, insert impact before the parental involvement in the first paragraph. Second, remove amidst pandemic in the second paragraph. And third, add in modular distance learning in the second paragraph. In the chapter 1, first is improve the introduction. Second, focus on COVID situation. Third, present the current educational context from international, national, local, and community. In the statement of the problem, first, paraphrase the introductory paragraph. And second, categorize the involvement of grade 2 parents. In the objectives of the study, put an introductory paragraph, and next is paraphrase. And the scope and limitation, first is use limitation instead of delimitation. Next, remove amidst. And third, recast the second paragraph. In the significance of the study, first is rearrange the entities from higher authority. And second, remove ameliorate. In the chapter 2, which is the RRL, first is cut some parts, minimum of 4, maximum of 5 studies. And next, thematically arrange the review of related literature. In the synthesis, it is suggested that we should use 3 paragraphs only, containing the similarities, differences, and its uniqueness. Next, the theoretical framework. First is remove by. Next, connect the arrow to the circle. And next, remove the word was. And next is remove the comma. In the conceptual framework, first is discuss what is in the figure. And next, the figure must be same sizes. In the assumption, first is add personal and vary. Next, remove the word were. And last, improve the assumption. And we are suggested to put hypotheses in our research. In the definition of terms, remove the word pandemic. And next, add the word personal profile. In the chapter 3, which is the methodology, first is use present tense words. And next, improve the introductory paragraph. In the research design, we must include statistical tools and improve the research design. In our research setting, we must elaborate the reason why did we choose that school. In respondents, It is suggested that we should improve the texture presentation. In the research instrument, we must improve it. In the validity and reliability, the researchers must seek assistance from panel of experts. In data gathering procedure, indicate here the process in data gathering. In the statistical tool, we must include the person-product moment correlation. And now, the problem one will be presented by Ms. Mabel Borromea.
Thank you, Ms. Septimo. And now I will present the Chapter 4 results and the discussion. This chapter presented the analysis and interpretation of data gathered in determining the impact of parental involvement to the academic performance of grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning in Sipocot North Central School, school year 2020 to 2021. Personal profile of the respondents. This table presented the personal profile of the parents of grade 2 pupils in Sipocot North Central School, school year 2020 to 2021 in terms of age, highest educational attainment, number of children, nature of employment. In terms of age, out of 57 respondents, there was 8 or 14.4% ages from 20 to 30 years old. 33 or 57.89% were 31 to 40 years old. 13 or 22.81% were 41 to 50 years old. 2 or 3.51% were 51 to 60 years old. And there was only 1 or 1.75 were 61 to 70 years old. It could be inferred from the table that majority of parent respondents are in the age of 31 to 40 years old. The findings imply that majority of parents are in the middle age or is still young and willing to help and support their child to help them in their activities. Table 3 presented that educational attainment. In terms of highest educational attainment, there were 29 or 50.88% who attained in the high school level, 7 or 29.82% in college level, 8 or 14.4% in elementary level, and 3 or 5.26% in technical vocational. It can be indicated from the foregoing data that most of the parents' respondents were in the high school level. This implied that all parents may sort of educational attainment and there is no parent who cannot read and write. Table 4 presented the number of children. In terms of number of children, there were 24 or 42.11% of the respondents had one or five number of children in family. 30 or 52.63% of the respondents had 6 to 10 number of children in the family. And 3 or 42.11% had 11 to 15 number of children in the family. The result implied that majority of parents respondents were having 6 to 10 number of children in the family. The finding indicated that the parents of grade 2 pupils of Sipocot North Central School has a large number of children in the family. This further revealed that they have limited capacity to provide all the necessity of their children in their schooling. Table 5 showed the occupation of the respondents. There was 5 or 8.77 for both self-employed and contractual. 34 or 59. Table 5 showed the occupation of the respondents. There was 5 or 8.77% for both self-employed and contractual. 34 or 59.65% of the parents are housewife, and 13 or 22.81 of the parents had a regular job. The result must be implied that majority of the grade 2 parents respondents are housewife. This data imply that the grade 2 parents had enough time to help their children in school. They can give more attention to their children and they have more time to spend because they are always at home. This study revealed that the personal profile showed that the parents could support the needs of their children and were able to attend any activities in school. The result was supported by study of Henderson and Map of 2011. The parents' characteristic like age, educational attainment, number of children, and status of house ownership also contribute the satisfactory level of academic performance among children of working parents. And now, Ms. Colores will present the extent of parental involvement.
Thank you, Ms. Bermeo. Extent of parental involvement. The extent of parental involvement was categorized into four, namely learning at home, communication, decision making, and collaboration with the school during modular distance learning. Table 6 presented the evaluation of the extent of parental involvement of grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning at home evaluated by the respondents. The data revealed that encouraging of children to study their module was rank 1, with a weighted mean of 4.79, followed by modeling the value of learning discipline and hard work with a weighted mean of 4.74 and encouraging to do the performance task was rank 3 with a weighted mean 4.70, followed by provide educational materials at home was rank 4 with a weighted mean of 4.68, followed by check the homework was rank 5 with a weighted mean of 4.65, followed by modeling good behavior and attitude expected from the children was in rank 6 with a weighted mean of 4.621, followed by encouraging and nurturing the creativity of children was in rank 7 with a weighted mean of 4.56, followed by check the academic performance in the school was in rank 8 with a weighted mean of 4.47, followed by act as a tutor in different subjects was in rank 9 with a weighted mean of 4.40. Lastly, in rank 10 was monitoring innate skills of the children with a weighted mean of 4.32. The result implied that the parents applied encouraged the children to study their module in learning at home, while monitoring innate skills of their children was less likely prioritized. Table 7 presents the extent of parental involvement to grade 2 modular distance learning. In communication, evaluated by the respondents. The data revealed that having conversation about values and right conduct was in rank 1 with a weighted mean of 4.65, followed by having conversational about the child's goals and discussing with their child their emotional academic needs was in rank 2.5 with a weighted mean of 4.56. Rank 4 was having conversation about students' hard work and activities with a weighted mean of 4.47, followed by sharing some of personal experience that the students can relate and apply was in rank 5 with a weighted mean of 4.46, followed by helping your child's learning network. Example, connecting your child who wants to be a teacher with other children came with her ambition, was rank 6 with a weighted mean of 4.42. Rank 7 was begin and end the day by checking in their children regarding their module with a weighted mean of 4.44, followed by having parents-teacher communication about the academic development of the child was rank 8 with a weighted mean of 4.23, followed by having conversation about the child's goal was rank 9 with a weighted mean of 4.19.
garnered rank 10 was sharing for teachers' help and feedback to support the students' learning with a weighted mean of 4. From this result, it can be seen that the parents were prioritized to teach and assist their children in terms of good values and right conduct. However, parents often reach feedback and ask teachers guide and help them to strongly support the needs of their children in modular distance learning. Table 8 shows the results of evaluation of extent of parental involvement to grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning along decision making, evaluated by the respondents. Based on the table, in terms of decision making, 9 indicators evaluated as always involved and only 1 indicators were evaluated as often involved. The data implied that encouraged the child to value the learning and self-discipline was rank 1 with a weighted mean of 4.65, followed by giving the child's attention to motivate more in study was rank 2 with a weighted mean of 4.60. Rank 3 was monitoring the child's worksheet plan with a weighted mean of 4.56, followed by making your child aware of his or her improvement was rank 4 with a weighted mean of 4.54, followed by connecting what the child's learned to everyday life was rank 5 with a weighted mean of 4.42. Rank 6 was establishing open communication in terms of child's want and child's decision with a weighted mean of 4.40, followed by planning out and organizing a learning routine with the child and setting time schedule for learning modules was rank point 5 with a weighted mean of 4.32. Rank 9 was construct criticism with a weighted mean of 4.28. Lastly, rank 10 was planning out and organizing a learning environment with childs with a weighted mean 4.19. The result implied that the parents were always make sure that their children value and learn self-discipline. Moreover, parents often planned out and organized learning environment for their children. Table 9 present the summary of extent of parental involvement to grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning along collaboration with the community evaluated by the respondents. It can be seen in the data that retrieval of module was rank 1 with a weighted mean of 4.82, followed by follow-up weekly modules in the school and submit all the activities of the child in the school was ranked 2.5 with a weighted mean of 4.81, followed by communicate and cooperate with the teacher with a rank 4 with a weighted mean of 4.65. Rank 5 was parents and schools partner in developing the child with a weighted mean of 4.63, followed by assist in completing school's project was rank 7 with a weighted mean of 4.40. Rank 8 was attend to school's meetings regularly with a weighted mean of 4.49, followed by provide information that can be beneficial for the development of schools was rank 9 with a weighted mean of 3.93. Lastly, rank 10 was asking recommendations for the betterment of child learning of the child with a weighted mean of 3.81. The result revealed that the grade 2 parents of Sipukot North Center School were always on time in returning the modules of their children in school. However, parents often involved in asking recommendation for the betterment of of the learning of their child in terms of modular learning of their children. Table 10 presents the summary of extent of parental involvement to grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning. Based on the table, it shows the 4 category indicators and out of 4 indicators, all categories were always involved. The data reveal that the learning at home with a weighted mean of 4.58, which ranked first, and interpret as always involved. The collaboration with the school with a weighted mean of 4.48 which ranks second, and interpret as always in bold. The decision making with the weighted mean of 4.43, which rank is third, and interpret as always in bold. Lastly, the communication with the weighted mean of 4.10, which rank fourth, and interpret as always in bold. This was supported by Rayful 2011, emphasized that home life enhances school success. The responsibility of the parents and education begins at home. The parents were considered as the first teacher because the role of the parents to make the child ready to learn and continue learning. The result implied that the grade 2 parents of Sipukot North Central School were always involved in terms of learning at home. This category is most important out of four categories that the parents were always involved. However, parents must have more time to communicate to their children and school as well. And now, Ms. Litan will present the academic performance. Thank you, Ms. Colores. And now I will present the academic performance. Data in Table 11 presented the academic performance of grade 2 pupils in Sipokot North Central School in modular distance learning during first quarter. Table 11. As gleaned from the table, data show along the 57 respondents, 20 of them obtained satisfactory during the first quarter. There were 19 respondents obtained outstanding during the modular distance learning. 12 of the respondents obtained very satisfactory. There were 6 respondents obtained fairly satisfactory, and there were none who did not meet expectation for the academic performance in modular distance learning of grade 2 pupils in during first quarter. It can be seen from the table that the grade 2 pupils shown a good performance during new normal system of education in a middle of pandemic. This means that the grade 2 pupils easily adapt the modular distance learning during the new normal system of education. This was supported by Berla 2015, which states that the parental involvement helped to develop their children to have more positive attitude towards the school, become more active there, and develop self-confidence and high academic performance. And now, Ms. Pututan will present the significant relationship between the personal profile of the parents to the extent of parent involvement.
Thank you, Ms. Litan. And now, I will present the Table 12. Relationship between the personal profile of the parent and extent of parent involvement. Table 12 shows the personal profile of parents, including the age, educational attainment, number of children, and occupation. The correlation between the age of grade 2 parents and extent of involvement along learning at home showed a chi-square computed value of 33.3200 and chi-square tabulated value of 26.30. The chi-square computed value is greater than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. The correlation between the educational attainment versus learning at home showed a chi-square computed value of 11.0137 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.3. The chi-square computed value is lesser than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is accepted. The correlation between the number of children versus learning at home shows a chi-square computed value of 4.6606 and chi-square tabulated value of 15.51. The chi-square computed value is lesser than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is accepted. The correlation between occupation versus learning at home shows a chi-square computed value of 28.6437 and chi-square computed value of 21.3. The chi-square computed value is greater than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. Data revealed that among the four socio-demographic profile, parents' educational attainment and their number of children has a significant relationship in terms of learning at their home. Table 13. Relationship between the personal profile of the parent and extent of parent involvement. Table 13 evaluates the relationship between the personal profile of the parents and their extent of parental involvement along communication. The correlation between the age of grade 2 parents versus communication showed a chi-square computed value of 51.6819 and chi-square tabulated value of 26.30. The chi-square computed value is greater than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. The, the correlation between the educational attainment versus communication showed a chi-square computed value of 34.2058 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.3. The chi-square computed value is greater than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. The correlation between the number of children versus communication showed a chi-square computed value of 4.2807 and chi-square tabulated value of 15.51. The chi-square computed value is lesser than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is accepted. The correlation between occupation versus communication showed a chi-square computed value of 46.4408 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.3. The chi-square computed value is greater than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. Table 14 shows the relationship between the personal profile of grade 2 parents and their extent of parental involvement along decision making. The correlation between the age of grade 2 parents versus decision making showed a chi-square computed value of 41.5643 and chi-square tabulated value of 26.30. The chi-square computed value is greater than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. The correlation between the educational attainment of grade 2 parents versus decision making showed a chi-square computed value of 26.1434 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.3. The chi-square computed value is greater than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. The correlation between the number of children of grade 2 parents versus decision making showed a chi-square computed value of 9.5022 and chi-square tabulated value of 15.51. The chi-square computed value is lesser than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is accepted. The correlation between the occupation of grade 2 parents versus decision making showed a chi-square computed value of 35.2128 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.03. The chi-square computed value is greater than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. Data revealed that the number of children affects the decision-making of grade 2 parents. This was supported by Bradley Caldwell and Corwin, 2011, argued that it was very important to keep the line of communication between teachers and parents in between parents and pupils open so that the parents can interact with the teacher and get up to date information of their children's school activities. Now, Ms. Septemo will present the Table 15, relationship between the personal profile of the parent and extent of parent involvement.
Thank you, Ms. Pototan. And now I will present the Table 15. It evaluates the relationship between the personal profile of the grade 2 parents and their extent of involvement along the collaboration with the family. The correlation between the age of grade 2 parents versus the collaboration with the family showed a chi-square computed value of 19.664 and a chi-square tabulated value of 26.30. The chi-square computed value is lesser than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is accepted. Correlation between the educational attainment of grade 2 parents versus the collaboration with the family showed a chi-square computed value of 28.5379 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.03. The chi-square computed value is greater than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. The correlation between the occupation of grade 2 parents versus the collaboration with the family showed a chi-square computed value of 27.3276 and chi-square tabulated value of 15.21. The chi-square computed value is greater than the chi-square tabulated value. Therefore, the null hypothesis is rejected. This was supported by Avelia 2013, found out that there are a lot of characteristics, including age, gender, educational attainment and income, number of children, and status, have a significant impact on a learner's academic performance. Parental attitudes and profiles play a significant role in a child's learning success. The relationship between the personal profile of the parent and the academic performance of grade 2 pupils were given taken from the responses given by respondents. Table 16 presents the relationship between personal profile of the parent and the academic performance of grade 2 pupils. In terms of age versus the extent of academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.0182, having a description of negligible correlation. The computed value of T was negative 0.1350, while the T critical value was plus or minus 2.005. Since the T value was less than the T critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. It could be inferred from the findings that there was no significant relationship between the age and the academic performance of the grade 2 pupils. The more involved the parents in encouraging their pupils to do their module and serve as a model for having good behaviors and attitudes, value of learning, self-discipline, and hard work. In terms of educational attainment versus extent of academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to 0.4783 with a description of moderate positive or negative correlation. The T computed value was 4.0392, while the T critical value of plus or minus 0.005 at the level of significance. Since the T computed value was greater than the T critical value, therefore, the null hypothesis was rejected. It can be inferred from the findings that there was a significant relationship between the educational attainment and academic performance of grade 2 pupils. In terms of number of children versus the extent of academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.1045 with a description of negligible correlation. The computed value of T was negative 0.7793, while the T critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the T computed value was less than the T critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. It can be inferred from the findings that there was no significant relationship between the numbers of children versus the academic performance of grade 2 pupils. In terms of occupation versus the extent of academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.2027 with a description of low positive or negative correlation. The computed value of T was negative 1.5351, while the critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the T computed value was less than the T critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. It can be inferred from the findings that there was no significant relationship between the occupation versus the academic performance of grade 2 pupils. As to personal profile of the parent and the academic performance of grade 2 pupils, findings revealed that the more the T computed value was found less than the T critical value, therefore, there was a need to accept the null hypothesis. The findings imply that personal profile, the age, educational attainment, number of children, and occupation corresponded to the academic performance of grade 2 pupils. The result was supported by Matthew and Sean 2011, stating that profiles of the parents positively affect the child's academic achievement. Table 17 showed the relationship between the extent of parental involvement and the academic performance of grade 2 pupils. In terms of learning at home versus academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.2173, having a description of low positive or negative correlation. The computed value of T was negative 1.6510, while the T critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the T computed value was less than the T critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. It could be inferred from the findings that there was a significant relationship between the extent of involvement of the learning at home and academic performance of grade 2 pupils. In terms of decision making versus academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.2540, having the description of low positive or negative correlation. The computed value of T was negative 1.9476, while the T critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the T computed value was less than the T critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. It could be inferred from the findings that there was a significant relationship between the extent of involvement of the decision making and academic performance of grade 2 pupils. In terms of collaboration with the school versus academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.1896, having a description of negligible correlation. The computed value of T was negative 1.4321, while the T critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the T computed value was less than the T critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. It can be inferred from the data or the findings that there was a significant relationship between the extent of involvement of the collaboration with the school and academic performance of grade 2 pupils. As to extent of involvement in academic performance, findings revealed that all T computed value was found less than the T critical value. Therefore, there was a need to accept the null hypothesis. The findings implied that the extent of involvement of the corresponded to the academic performance of the pupils. The more time and effort provided by the parents in all the endeavors of the pupils in modular learning, the more chances of these pupils receiving higher grades from their respective subjects. Hence, parents should always exhibit support in any activities of their children in order to reach the goal of their children. This result was supported by Newswire 2012, stating that parental involvement enhances academic performance. The academic achievement of the pupils increases when parents were involved in their children's education. The more intensively involved the parents were, the greater the positive impact would go in academic achievement. Chapter 5. This chapter presents the summary, findings, conclusion, and recommendations of the study. The summary includes the major findings upon which conclusions were based. The recommendations were drawn from the conclusions which were formulated by the researchers. The summary. This study aimed to determine the impact of parental involvement to the academic performance of grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning at Sipocot North Central School, Sipocot, Camarines Sur. Specifically, the study sought to answer the following questions. 1. What is the personal profile of parents in terms of age? B. Educational attainment. C. Number of children. And D. Occupation. 2. What is the extent of parental involvement to grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning along A. Learning at home. B. Communication. C. Decision making. And D. Collaboration with the school. 3. What is the academic performance of grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning during first quarter? 4. Is there significant relationship between the personal profile of the parent to the extent of parental involvement? And 5. Is there significant relationship between the personal profile of the parent to the academic performance of grade 2 pupils? And 6. Is there significant relationship between the parent involvement to the academic performance of the grade 2 pupils? The researchers used the descriptive documentary correlational method of research. First quarter grades of the pupils respondents were requested from their respective advisors and were used to determine the academic performance of pupils during modular distance learning. Survey questionnaires were distributed and used to gather data for the extent of impact of parental involvement to the academic performance of grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning. Quantitative data were treated statistically using frequency count and percentage technique, weighted mean and ranking technique, person product moment correlation, and chi-square. After treating and further analysis, the following were revealed.
Problem number 1. What is the personal profile of the parents in terms of age, educational attainment, number of children, and occupation? Findings. Number 1. In terms of age, there was 8 or 14.4% with an age of 20 to 30 years old, and there was only 1 or 1.75% were 61 to 70 years old. Number 2, in terms of highest educational attainment, there were 29 or 50.88% who attained in the high school level and 3 or 5 or 26% in technical vocational. Number 3, in terms of number of children, there are follows. There was 24 or 42.11% of the respondents had a children composed of 1 to 5 children in the family, and 3 or 42.11% had 11 to 15 children in the family. Number 4, in terms of occupation of the respondents, there was 5 or 8.77% for both self-employed and contractual, and 13 or 22.81% of the parents had a regular job. The conclusion, most of the parents of the grade 2 pupils are 31 to 40 years old. They was only able to attain the high school level, had a family member of 6 to 10, and some of the respondents are housewife. The recommendation, every school should do parent profiling in order for school administrators and educators to comprehend the importance and impact of parents' profiles on their children's academic success. In order to engage parents, school must go beyond limiting conceptions of involvement. All of these factors highlight the necessity of parents participating actively in their children's education and maintaining a positive relationship with school.
Problem number 2. What is the extent of parental involvement to grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning as perceived by learning at home, communication, decision making, and collaboration with the school? Findings. Number 1. It was found out that the category along learning at home, the most applied indicators were encourage children to do the performance in the school was ranked 1 with a weighted mean of 4.79. Monitoring innate skills of children was the last in rank 10 with a weighted mean of 4.32. The sub-average weighted mean was 4.59, interpret as always in bold. Number 2, it was found out that the category in terms of communication out of 10 indicators, the most applied were having conversation about value and right conduct was in rank 1 with a weighted mean of 4.65. The last indicators was asking for teachers' help and feedback to support the school's learning was rank 10 with a weighted mean of 4. The sub-average weighted mean was 2.63, interpret as always in bold. Number 3, it was found out that the category in terms of decision making out of 10 indicators, the most applied indicators were encourage the child to value the learning and self-discipline was in rank 1 with a weighted mean of 4.65. Planning out and organizing a learning environment with your child was in rank 10 with a weighted mean of 4.19. The sub-average weighted mean was 4.43, interpret as always in bold. Number 4, it was found out that the category in terms of collaboration with the school out of 10 indicators, the most applied were retrieval of modules was in rank 1 with a weighted mean of 4.82. The last indicator was asking recommendation for the betterment of learning of the child was in rank 10 with a weighted mean of 3.93. The sub-average weighted mean was 4.48, interpret as always in bold. Conclusion. It was found out in the four categories that out of 57 respondents was learning at home had a rank 1 with a weighted mean of 4.5, interpret as always in bold. Collaboration with the school was in rank 2 with a weighted mean of 4.48. Rank 3 was decision making with a weighted mean of 4.43. Lastly, rank 4 was communication with a weighted mean of 4.40. The recommendation. Number 1. The researcher would like to recommend that the school can have extracurricular activities through online like drawing and other skills that suited to grade 2 pupils' level of learning during modular distance learning. Number 2, it can be good if the teacher should provide a parent suggestion box in the classroom. Number 3, the teacher should add an agenda in their meeting before starting school year about the learning environment of their children during modular distance learning. And number 4, the researcher would like to recommend that the school should have their own Facebook page that have a content about the school activities for the betterment of the pupils as well as the other stakeholders.
Problem number 3. What is the academic performance of grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning during first quarter? Findings. As the academic performance of grade 2 pupils during the modular distance learning in first quarter, along 57 pupils, 20 pupils attained satisfactory in rank 1 while 6 pupils belong to fairly satisfactory was rank 4. Conclusion. From the data presented, the academic performance show a good result during new normal system of education in a middle of pandemic. This means that grade 2 pupil easily adapted to the modular distance learning during the new normal system of education. Recommendation. Even the academic performance of the student is good during the modular distance learning, the researcher recommends that the teacher must give reward for the pupils, and the researcher recommends to have conductive learning environment, proper ventilation, well-arranged school supplies, and etc. for the pupils during the learning process.
Problem number 4. Is there significant relationship between the personal profile of the parent to the extent of parent involvement? Findings. Number 1, the relationship between the personal profile of the parent and extent of parent involvement along learning at home. Letter A, as to age of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 33.3200 and chi-square tabulated value of 26.30 in learning at home. Letter B, as to educational attainment of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 11.0137 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.3. Letter C, as to number of children of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 4.6606 and chi-square tabulated value of 15.51. Letter D, as to occupation of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 26.6437 and chi-square computed value of 21.3. Number 2, the relationship between the personal profile of the parent and extent of parent involvement along communication. Letter A, as to age of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 51.6819 and chi-square tabulated value of 26.30 along communication. Letter B, as to educational attainment of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 34.2058 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.3. Letter C, as to number of children of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 4.2807 and chi-square tabulated value of 15.51. Letter D, as to occupation of grade 2 parents, chi-square computed value of 46.4408 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.3. Number 3, the relationship between the personal profile of the parent and extent of parent involvement along decision making. Letter A, as to age of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 41.5643 and chi-square tabulated value of 26.30 along decision making. Letter B, as to educational attainment of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 26.1434 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.03. Letter C, as to number of children of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 9.5022 and chi-square tabulated value of 15.51. Letter D, as to occupation, the chi-square computed value of 35.2128 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.3. Number 4, the relationship between the personal profile of the parent and extent of parent involvement along collaboration with the school. Letter A, as to age of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 19.6644 and chi-square tabulated value of 26.30 along collaboration with the school. Letter B, as to educational attainment of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 28.5379 and chi-square tabulated value of 21.03. Letter C, as to number of children of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 10.0157 and chi-square tabulated value of 15.51. Letter D, as to occupation of grade 2 parents, the chi-square computed value of 27.3276 and chi-square tabulated value of 15.21. Conclusion. Number 1, the result implies that whatever the age and occupation of grade 2 parents, it has no significant relationship to their extent of involvement when it comes to new normal system of education. Number 2, the result implies that the number of children of each family has a significant relationship during the modular distance learning during the first quarter of the school year 2020 to 2021. Recommendation. Number 1. It is implied that pupils and parents must set their goal in studying so that they are motivated to pursue in spite of difficulties they encounter. Number 2, teachers must give careful attention to the students' learning and instruction to the parents to be aligned in terms of knowledge, skills, and values.
Problem number 5. Is there significant relationship between the personal profile of the parents to the academic performance of grade 2 pupils? These are the findings. 1. In terms of age versus the extent of involvement to the academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.0182, having a description of negligible correlation. The computed value of t was negative 0.1350, while the t critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the t value was less than the t critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. 2. In terms of educational attainment versus extent of academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to 0.4783 with the description of moderate positive or negative correlation. The T computed value was 4.0392, while the T critical value was positive or negative 2.005 at the level of significance. Since the T computed value was greater than the T critical value, therefore, the null hypothesis was rejected. 3. In terms of number of children versus the extent of academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.1045 with a description of negligible correlation. The computed value of T was 0.7793, while the T critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the T computed value was less than the T critical value, therefore, the null hypothesis was accepted. 4. In terms of occupation versus the extent of academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.0027 with a description of low positive or negative correlation. The computed value of T was negative 1.5351, while the T critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the T computed value was less than the T critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. Conclusions. 1. Parents' profiles in terms of the age, educational attainment, number of children, and occupation corresponded to the academic performance of grade 2 pupils and modular distance learning. 2. Profiles of the parents positively affect the child's academic performance. 3. There has a significant relationship between the age, number of children, and occupation to the academic performance of the grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning. 4. There has no significant relationship between the educational attainments to the academic performance of grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning. Recommendation. Personal profile of the parent should affect to the academic performance of grade 2 pupils. The parents should always support their children in any activities in modular distance learning to reach their goals in life. Moral support, physical presence, and financial support of the parent give more effective impact to the academic performance of the grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning. Problem 6. Is there significant relationship between the parent involvement to the academic performance of grade 2 pupils? Findings. 1. In terms of learning at home versus academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.2173, having description of low positive or negative correlation. The computed value of T was negative 1.6510, while the T critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the T computed value was less than the T critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. 2. In terms of communication versus academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.2379, having a description of low positive or negative correlation. The computed value of T was negative 1.8165, while the T critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the T computed value was less than the T critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. 3. In terms of decision making versus academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.2540, having a description of low positive or negative correlation. The computed value of T was negative 1.9476, while the T critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the T computed value was less than the T critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. 4. In terms of collaboration in the school versus academic performance, the computed value of R resulted to negative 0.1896, having a description of negligible correlation. The computed value of T was negative 1.4321, while the T critical value was positive or negative 2.005. Since the T computed value was less than the T critical value, therefore the null hypothesis was accepted. Conclusion. In summary, the extent of involvement of the parents has no significant relationship to the academic performance of the grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning. Recommendation. Parental involvement enhances academic performance of grade 2 pupils in modular distance learning when parents were involved in their children's education. The more parents show deep concern on their child's goals and as well as in growing the full support in accomplishing all of the modular activities, the more time and effort provided in all the children's endeavors, the greater the positive effect on the academic achievement. Therefore, the researchers would like to recommend that the school can conduct a seminar to grade 2 parents that is related the proper way on how they teach their children during modular distance learning.